Welcome and welcome back to the Light Renegades. My name is Star. Thank you for joining me today, everyone. I'm having to take some deep breaths with this one today, everyone. I'm not entirely sure where to even begin, how to potentially make this make sense to anyone that finds themselves here for the first time. I think that who I am just truly isn't important at this point. However, I will create a playlist that will harbor the energies and understandings that I've brought forward already in some videos about my personal life and my expanse on this journey so far. So if you want to, perhaps pause this recording, go and find out a little bit more about me and my life, you can go and do that before partaking on this another journey, everyone. To those that are in real time, to those that have been with us for the longest time, thank you so much. I have been in some really interesting spaces over the past week and a half, some really trying spaces, and I wasn't truly of the understanding until literally today that I've been integrating a layer of Kurt's energy. I kind of forget that this happens every time I start to partake on channeling a new being. And I think that's for the purpose of me just fully embracing, everything that I'm experiencing, everything that I'm feeling in the moment, so that I can fully just process it. And, somewhere I'm told that, one, I'm doing this for my own soul's expansion, but two, I'm helping this soul, release some aspects that have been really tying them to this present fabric of reality that we find ourselves in, and that will be specific timelines and specific understanding. So us bringing forward and engaging within these channelings with other beings from, I guess the other side, or the veil as some call it, we are allowing to set their souls free at a deeper capacity of the human collective understanding where we find ourselves. And that message gets ever more expansive as the understandings go on, but I think I'm going to leave it there for today. Today's message is a short one from Kurt. I channeled this a few days ago. However, I have spent a lot of time behind the scenes with him since that, and spending some time getting to know him and his understanding and where he finds himself now in his expression of healing and what that means for all of us. And I feel like there is kind of two parallel timelines that has been working at all times when dealing with a person that is in the public eye that I brought forward. I've channeled Diana, former Princess of Wales. I've channeled Jeffrey Epstein. I've channeled Brittany Murphy so far, and Aleister Crowley. So if any of that piques your interest, I know that there's a lot of diverse understandings and a lot of trigger traumas within those spaces. So please be aware of that. And my apologies to anyone that it offends. That is truly not my intention. I'm bringing souls forward that I feel like is going to help our expanse immensely. This has all been part of my journey and path. I haven't decided who these beings are. I perhaps would have chosen a little bit lighter of subject in some areas if I'd have had the choice. But I trust in my teams of light. I trust in my expansion, and I trust that everything that I'm bringing forward is for the highest good of all somewhere. So please be looking after yourselves, your mental and emotional capacities. But do delve in if any of that piques your interest. There is lots of playlists to be delving into at this time. But the two parallel timelines is that, we have this forward-facing understanding of someone in the public eye that is brought to us by the media and all of the fractals of understanding, and then we have the behind the scenes that is going on for them. And actually I think there's a third layer to that with regards to how this soul truly feels from a heart-centered space. And I have been on an emotional roller coaster with Kurt, I cannot tell you. And I'm fighting back the tears all the time when I'm speaking to him, because I feel like there is just so much of his energy that I understand, and actually so much of his shadow, so much of him that I feel like represents my shadow. And I had quite a tumultuous time with him today. I was actually watching a documentary about him and his life, and there was so much about him that I just thought, I do not like you. Like, there is so much about you I do not like whatsoever. And I was realizing it's because a lot of the expression that he was bringing forward represents a lot of my shadow, and a lot of his, I guess, his ego, really reflected mine at a certain point in my life. And I had to really go in again even deeper and say, I'm feeling such a way about this being because it's reflecting me somewhere. And I realized so much of my life has been entwined with all of these energies of these people, these beings, these entities that I've brought forward now in this present given time. And, it absolutely blows my mind. And I think somewhere I'm still trying to stabilize myself in that understanding. But I feel like Kurt's life and Kurt's expression is the one that's been the most difficult to sit with. because I feel like I was very much in his frame of mind for a lot of my life. And granted, life is different, but I think the energy and the understanding is the same. And I feel like so many of you out here will be able to empathize and understand his expression too. But I think that there is going to be a lot brought forward that will completely shatter what you thought to be true. My mind has been blown time and time again on this path. It never ceases to amaze me just how much, there is deeper and deeper layers to all understandings. But I am grateful for him to step forward. And it's been some time being able to, I guess, come to the space where I feel like I was ready to do this. And I had to double check when the date was, but it was the 20th of March in 2022. I brought forward an expression, and I was house sitting for a friend at the time, and I was told to go through their wardrobe and, pick out a t-shirt and wear it. And to my surprise, it was a Nirvana t-shirt, and I wasn't sure of the significance at that time. And I feel like there was multiple aspects of that understanding that has been brought forward since then. But I just kept feeling like there was something more about that video. It kept coming into my plane of existence, and I was like, I don't know what else is wanting to come through. But before that time, I had spoken to Kurt Cobain before, just small fragments of understanding, and I'd seen some other channelers, that have brought through his expression. So I knew that that was possible and something that a lot of people were doing in some circles. So I didn't really think too much of it at the time. And I think maybe for the past 6 months, Nirvana's just kept coming up and up and up and up and up and up. And, that's not a surprise. Somewhere they were an incredibly popular band. But whenever I was brought to this expression and understanding, I just felt like there's something else here that I can't quite put my finger on. And slowly but surely, I was just getting more and more of this energy seeping in. And then I was reminded of a time when I was smack bang in the middle of really expanding and being, I guess, really broken down to a deeper state of consciousness. And I'd had some cacao, and I was in the bath, and I was visioning. And, I saw a whole scene, which I thought was my life at that time and to come. And what I was understanding was that, this was an expression that was actually happening in Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love's life, something that I completely had no idea about had actually happened in their life, that I was visioning in that space, and I was helping to integrate that in a new layer of understanding of conscious love, expansive love in this space. And, I don't really know how to make these expressions make sense to you, because it's kind of an energy that comes in that I feel. So I feel like when I try and bring forward synchronicities, it just doesn't hit the same way. And I'm sure a lot of you can understand the expression that is on this path. We try and share things with other people that have happened, and they just can't quite grasp what you're saying. Like they understand it, but they just think, okay, it's not really a sign to them because it was a personal sign to you. So those are just some expressions of things that have happened that made me realize that, this being has been in the forefront of my energy for a real long time. And I was absolutely obsessed with, I want to say, just with Kurt Cobain, not necessarily Nirvana, although I love their music. I just felt such empathy for this soul, and I felt like every time I saw him in magazines or on television, I felt like this soul was just suffering somewhere. And I learned about Kurt Cobain after he had already passed. So it was I think it was a grieving for him somewhere, and knowing that he had passed under quite extreme circumstances. But it just felt like something in my heart, I understood this being. And now that I come to this expression of, truly understanding whom he is as a being, I understand that, we all see each other one and the same. When you are these expressions of beings that come from a different space of understanding than Earth, it's like you see each other so clearly. Somewhere it is so obvious how much a soul is in pain to you, because you're of a similar vibration somewhere. And I'm not going to share too much. I'm kind of getting a bit ahead of myself here, because I think that I'm just going to share this one message, and then I'm actually working away until next week. So this is going to give you all a bit of time to acclimatize for what's to come. I know that there's going to be a lot of you that feel a lot about this space and about this being, and that's, I want to say that's okay. And I'd say don't jump the gun too soon with I guess, what do I want to say? with presuming what's going to be brought forward is what I want to share. I think that I've really been having to check myself in this space, to just let everything be brought forward to me that this being wants to express. And I haven't been given everything. I haven't been given what information is to come. I've seen some aspects of understanding that has helped me understand the soul at a deeper level. But I've not been told, exactly what's going to be brought forward. Although some of you, I think, cannot understand where we're going with this, with regards to the negative reptilian order and what that means. And if you are here for the first time and you have no idea what that means, I would suggest doing a little bit of research behind the scenes, and seeing where you find yourself in your expression, your understanding, before partaking onto more of these channelings or this channel as a whole, because all of our expression here is connected to the negative reptilian order somewhere, and its understandings over planet Earth, humanity, and all of its beings that are inhabiting Gaia at this time. So have that be a warning to you, a trigger warning to some too. It gets pretty expansive over here, so if you're not ready to be partaking with us, perhaps it's just not right time for you. And some things have been brought to my attention where I've had that same reaction to things. It's been quite a visceral reaction to things because it's really just triggered me somewhere, and then I've had to go back, take some time, process, and then come back at it again. And I come back in a different understanding, a different vibration, a different layer of, I guess, compassion and empathy somewhere. So I would say, please have that in mind whenever you are challenged with anything, any sort of information that's being brought forward to you. It's perhaps triggering things from parallel timelines, perhaps from trauma from your own life, trauma from those around you. And what I'm starting to understand is that this idea of ancestral karma, ancestral trauma, and the trauma of those around you and those that you've agreed to be in soul contracts with is incredibly high. I think the main takeaway from the past few days of me is just how many beings I'm emotionally and energetically connected to at a lot of my life, and I agreed for that. So please be aware of that for some of you out here, because sometimes I'm feeling so much and I just think this doesn't warrant what is going on in my life. This doesn't warrant the expression that I'm feeling right now. Nothing in my life is particularly reflective of any of that, and I've been having to understand that there are some beings that I chose to come here with and take on a bit of what they are feeling too, to help them process. And I know that this goes against all practice of energy somewhere, and I make sure to be cutting cords as much as possible. I make sure to be disconnecting from collective energy as much as possible. But there are some times when teams of light are just like, hey, you're just gonna have to feel this, and we're sorry, and it's painful. And granted, I think there is some karmic aspect to that of why I've agreed to do this for some souls, vice versa, but also just allowing for that to be a truth somewhere. Sometimes we are feeling something and we don't necessarily know why. If you do your practices, making sure you're protecting your energy, cleansing your space, but you are still feeling it, know that it's perhaps not even you. It might be some other being out here that you've agreed to take on that energy for somewhere. And that is just part and parcel of being an awakened soul right now, being a starseed to those that it aligns with. I resonate as being a Pleiadian starseed. So I just wanted to bring that forward because it really helped me just have a little bit more compassion for myself and in my spaces and in my processing. And to those that have been witness this, you've seen me come and go time and time again because the energies have just been so much and too much to bear in some aspects. And, I have to take a break, but that's because I'm not just working through my life. I'm working through different fragments of understanding, different parallel lifetimes, other people's ancestral trauma and karma. So there is a lot going on at all times is what I want to share. So please go easy with self and let yourself integrate within this space. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna let Kurt come through in the future. If I will let him speak through me, that will probably happen at some point. But I'm still getting to know him and his energy, and somewhere it's just incredibly triggering for me. I've just been in tears a lot of the time speaking with him, and it's really touching upon some quite, I guess, poignant moments in my life and struggles that I've had in my own personal journey understanding him, and I guess this expression of just apathy for life and fear of everyone. I think that's the main energy that I've gotten from him, is that he was just terrified and bored of everyone at equal measure. And somewhere I just felt this energy of that he was here for something great, and that he was great somewhere, but he didn't know how to express that. So we're going on a journey with him, with his energy, and I think just just receive what is here for you, is what I want to say. But the message that I channeled from Kurt a few days ago was titled, I am here. And he started with, well, I was hoping to perhaps come through lighter, but seeing you all here, I'm reminded of all that was. I've done much healing on the other side, yet still having to learn so much. I'm a guide to many, my fractal supporting so many of the conscious, awake, now. I'm still grieving, not in the same ways as you do, but close. I'm sorry that I haven't been there to watch some of my closest grow and turn into beautiful beings. Yet somewhere I know they aren't the same, we aren't the same. I knew from very early on that I had to make it. I felt such pain in my heart from a young age. So much fire, and if I wanted to be pretentious, so much anarchy. I didn't believe in life, the systems, the popular. I think somewhere I hoped I could crawl under a rock and never come back out again. As a child, confused, unamused, and bored for the first few years, until I found music. This is what made me feel totally alive. People were always drawn to me. I think somewhere I feared being seen. I feared being accepted and loved, feeling cast aside so young, just strange things to a kid. I never wanted for anything more than to not come from a broken home. I didn't feel stable. I didn't feel at peace. Somewhere I think I believed my father leaving my fault. As a kid, nothing like that makes sense to you. You just become angry. You become rebellious. Better to laugh it off, act like you don't care, than to feel it and care. I thought somewhere love be the end of me, and to some degree, I suppose it was. And you know, I've spent some time conversing since this message came in, and we're going to delve into all aspects of Kurt Cobain's life, his family, his upbringing, his understanding of him coming up through the ranks, you know, being a rock star, being a person in the public eye, being a celebrity, and then understanding his expression of how all of that felt, how all of that came to be for him somewhere. And then we're going to get into the expansive side of all of that in tandem as well, everyone. But I think somewhere this fire, this anarchy, this rage is very, very real. And I feel like that's where I've been in a lot of my personal spaces growing up. You know, I've always been interested in alternative music, that sort of scene, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of his expression really rings true to where I found myself in my personal life and journey, and where I found a lot of people by my side too. And it's funny because I can see where there is a lot of people that I know in my life that too reflect this energy. And you know, I realize that anyone that I know in my life personally at like quite a deep capacity, you know, I know them from other spaces. So we all came down here together and agreed to take on these fractals of energy and these understandings of others. And it's funny looking around now and being able to see where there are people around me that very much mirror a lot of aspects of Kurt Cobain himself. And yeah, it's really uncanny, some of the coincidences that have happened of late, synchronicities. You know, I don't actually believe in coincidences, but I think somewhere it has just been too mind-blowing for me to truly comprehend. Everything has just felt like, I don't know, some sort of dream or nightmare to some degree somewhere, being in Kurt's energy. It's been a lot understanding just how much he dealt with intrusive thoughts, anxiety, fear of everyone. And you know, that's definitely something that I felt a lot of my life. I felt very out of place. I felt very confused by everything. I didn't really understand, you know, how people did life. I didn't really know how to do life. And I think that is still something that I'm trying to figure out somewhere, as all of these realms have gotten even more real to me. You know, the less I felt of here, the less more I felt of somewhere else, out in the stratospheres. And I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate that and understand that as well, and have empathy for that too. And that's exactly how Kurt Cobain felt. You know, he always felt like he was from somewhere else. And there is an incredibly mind-blowing, I guess, what do I want to say? There's an incredibly mind-blowing aspect of a documentary that I watched about his life, that I watched today. And he brings forward this expression of, you know, feeling like and pretending like that he was speaking to his family that was his real family, his family that, you know, when he was here incarnated, he was like, I didn't feel like they were my family somewhere. I like to pretend that I was from the stars and I was speaking to my family from the stars. And these things shouldn't blow my mind at this point, but to hear him physically say that, I think that it made me realize just how true all of this is. And I do have to pinch myself somewhere, everyone, because I know, quite frankly, this doesn't make sense. And somewhere I can't make sense of all of this. I'm still having to pinch myself every day that my life is now this, because you can't bring it to the forefront at all times. And to those that are struggling, going back and forth with, is any of this real? Is this truly happening? Is the expressions that I'm understanding really true? Just keep standing in your light and in your power and in your heart. And I'm realizing it's a lot of this heart space, if it's not open, it can incredibly hinder you and hold you back. So there's been a lot of heart opening, understanding that I've been having to rework through again, because it has been so incredibly triggering. Conversing with this being, like I said, there's so much of my personal journey that just feels ever entwined into this. And yeah, I feel like this is the deepest that I've been mirrored and experienced in a being from, I guess, the other side, somewhere else that has already passed over. It's like my shadow, my everything was just right there in front of me, and it was like, whoa, okay, like, yeah, this is me somewhere. And have that in mind moving forward when you are moving through anything that is challenging. I've been in tandem with all of this going on, dealing with some aspects of others where I'm seeing, their shadow really coming out to play, and me having to just be an expression of love and compassion in that space, to allow for a being to grow in their own space and in their own way, whilst holding the light for them somewhere, and understanding, I'm also a being growing in tandem with others too, and we're going to trigger each other, and that has to be okay. So to those that might have been struggling in their personal relationships of late, the energies are ever expanding, and so much darkness is coming to light, and sometimes that comes out in those that we love and we care about the most, and we have to just hold compassion for them. Please, set those boundaries so that you feel safe and that you're looking after yourself. But at the same time, I think we're going to have to give more beings a lot more empathy, a lot more compassion, and a lot more from a heart-centered space. And I realize that when I'm not giving to my full capacity in my heart, I feel stifled, I feel strange, I don't feel like me. And I think somewhere I've been getting tripped up because I've just been terrified of being hurt again. I've just been terrified of, people stepping in, trying to take something from me, trying to, block my path, etc., because that's what I've just been coming up against time after time after time. And, I've been really having to work with myself to just surrender and keep my heart open no matter what is happening around me. So that just a reminder to some, no one is perfect. We're all here working, walking alongside each other on this path every day. I'm having to work at myself even more strategically than before, as this path expands, the responsibility expands too, and the capacity to hold others expands as well. So that means I need to take better care of myself in my spaces also. And that's a reminder to those that, are holding space for others at this time, perhaps at a public level, perhaps this is your work, your business too. You have to be looking after yourself, because if you're not looking after you, how is this going to work out later down the line, is what I want to share. And I'm not entirely sure why I brought that forward in this message, but it feels like that's relevant, and that's definitely something that rings true to Kurt Cobain's life. He really wasn't looking after himself for a lot of his life, and there was a whole layers of that understanding of why this came to be, and where he found himself, and lots of addictions and that type of thing is going to be brought forward as well. So we're trying to get a well-rounded understanding of this being, and also this is going to perhaps trigger some aspects of your life, your healing, your expression, and that's what it's here for, everyone. Collectively, we are changing the fabric of energetic correlation to these beings, so this ripples out into the wider collective, and also helps us heal in our own personal journeys as well. So I hope that some of you will stick around for what's to come, but I know that this perhaps will trigger many, and perhaps this will allow for some of us to really just witness ourselves and let that be something that we just accept. I'm really having to just accept myself day in, day out, at my deepest and darkest capacities with all of this. And somewhere it's harrowing, and it's painful, and it's raw, and some parts of me I wish I could just put in a box and not look at again, but I know that that's part of me, and it's me, so I have to love it. I have to love all aspects of me to be able to carry on this path. And I feel like some of you perhaps have hit a brick wall right now in that understanding, and that's okay, but we're going to work through this together. I feel like Kurt Cobain is going to trigger us to work through this, no, if we like it or not. So go easy with self. You've got some time to process now that I'll be away for a few days. But I will be back next week with more from Kurt Cobain. And yeah, I look forward to it somewhere. I'm absolutely terrified. And, you know, the overarching energy that I get from this is that we're just ready, and this is going to blow the lid off some things that just really need to be brought to the forefront of expansion right now. So I'm incredibly grateful for this soul stepping forward. You know, it genuinely has just brought me to tears. A lot of the time speaking with him, and I'm just incredibly grateful that this being is here, and you know, working within my energy and helping me understand some aspects of myself too. It's truly a win-win situation for me somewhere, but it does come with growing pains. You know, you constantly see me having to grow in these spaces, having to expand in these spaces, and it's not easy, and so many of you are doing the exact same things exactly where you are. So please be looking after yourself. You've got some time to integrate. Make sure that you do take some time to integrate, and you know, wherever you're led in this time to do some research and understanding. Know that you've been led there for a reason. So even if it seems so random, you know, so many things have happened in this path that I just thought was so random. I've been going back through notebooks and diaries that I've had from 2-3 years ago, and realizing that, one, I was predicting the future, two, there were so many understandings that just weren't ready to be at the forefront of my life until now, and three, you know, it's all been an expression of me and my path, even when it's been so incredibly painful. And it's you know, it breaks my heart somewhere to read how much pain I was in, but it's incredibly empowering to see just how far I've come. And you know, even when I feel like I'm in the pits of where I am right now, I'm not the same being that I was 3 years ago. I'm certainly not the same being that I was 5 years ago, and you know, 10 years ago I'm completely unrecognizable to be in that space. So that being said, have compassion for you, your life, and those around you, and I'll be back real soon with Kurt Cobain. Everyone who thought we'd be here, I certainly did not. But that's all from me today, Anchor, and I will speak to you all so very soon. Take care.